Thank you everyone so much for coming. I won't talk long. This woman really needs no introduction at all, which is why you are all here to listen to her speak about her fantastic sculpture. So without further ado, Emily Young.
Thank you very much. I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a bit about how I got to be a sculptor. And then I'll talk a bit about how I do the sculpture. And then I'm going to talk about why I think now I am doing it. So that's three. Let's see how we go. So when I was a two-year-old, my family went to live in Rome. My father was a journalist. And being educated visually in Rome was, of course, extremely powerful. And I think of it almost as like being injected with an addictive drug. And I now live in Italy. And I think because of my history as a child and then always being back in Italy, I've taken in a huge amount of that ethos, the cultural ethos of Italy, which is ancient, sort of ancient, comparatively not ancient, if you think about some of the stones that I'm working with, which are truly ancient. But it gave me a real, it was like food, which pushes you in a particular direction. It was sort of philosophical, it was spiritual, it was emotional, it was physical. I loved the elegance and the classical forms. They became a part of me. Also, at the same time, my grandfather lived in Wiltshire, very close to Avebury, and Stonehenge was very close as well. And I was brought up with these ancient stones, Neolithic building structures, but also just the material. The stones would come up out of the, they're called sarsen stones. I don't know if any of you know about sarsen stones. They're a layer of stone that was broken up over the millions of years. And so they sit there like, almost like people. As a child, I thought that they had personalities, and we would call them, me and my sisters, would call them, they had their names and things. Anyway, so there's these two entities, one the very classical one, and one a very northern, more physical and ancient. It's cold and dark and wild, Wiltshire, whereas Rome was golden and rosy red and sunlight and the pines and the sea and all of that. So I think it was a nice marriage. I think also my grandmother worked as a sculptor in Paris with Rodin. And I never met her. She died just before I was born. But she was technically extremely proficient. She really could draw, and she really could model. And in fact, she could carve as well. But carving takes much longer than the models that you can make in clay, which then get cast into bronze, and the whole process takes almost no time at all compared to carving a piece of stone, which takes bloody ever. And I heard that she had once said that nature is the best artist, and I think that landed quite strongly, because I thought, right, so the whole of the world has been made. Somebody made it, and God or nature, but it was a powerful thought that I'm still sort of running with, which is a created world. It's not just there; it was created. So that's a bit about how I got to that point. And now, what was the next point I was going to make? Was yes, how do I do it? Initially, I was a painter. And I was working out various stories about myself and about being an artist, a woman, a mother. And I painted figuratively. I seem to have my grandmother's facility with just being able to draw, like some people can sing. But also you train it, like, that if some people can sing, you will train to become an opera singer. So I did train to be able to draw the human body, or, a boulder as well. So that's a thing that you don't see so much nowadays. The last sort of 50 years, it's been, it's gone. Maybe it's coming back again. I don't see why it shouldn't be absolutely core to the art world. I was quite a distressed teenager for various extremely good reasons. And I needed to resolve things with my own creativity. And I was quite wild. I was a bit naughty and self-destructive. And I found in painting that it was that I could move this material around and I could resolve stuff for myself. Somebody left some tools in my house, stone carving tools. There was a little leather bag that somebody had left there, and I carried them around from some place to place as I was growing in my 20s. A nice hammer and some nice chisels. And I kept taking them with me, but they had been just given to me by the universe. I didn't go out to look for them. So we were doing in my nice little house in Shepherd's Bush, we were redoing the kitchen, and there was some bits of marble were left over from the slabs that you have in a nice kitchen. And one day I just thought, let's put these two things together. And I started, and it was fantastic. I knew what to do, and it was hard, and it was resistant, and everything that I could throw at it, it was ready for. I mean, they were just little marble slabs, really sort of innocent, really. But my energy went like that with it, and I thought, oh my God. And I still loved the painting, and in fact, I used to weep because I wasn't able to paint anymore because the stone had sort of taken over my life. And I went and I found blocks of stone, sort of with difficulty really initially, but I was trying to find my own way through into being who I was being drawn towards being. So I found stone yards, like going sort of, stones, wonderful stones from all over the world. Gradually, it manifested itself in bigger and more complex pieces. And I had a show of my paintings, but then I said, can we put this couple of sculptures in? And they sold and the paintings didn't. And so, my arm was triggered again, this is your direction, you have to go. So then I was thinking, okay, here are these beautiful pieces of stone, and they've been cut 6 sides. I thought, these are actually dead. These have lost their context, and therefore they're at the service of somebody's idea. And it was something that some human entity is going to make something out of this. They've got a drawing of what it's going to look like. And this was happening everywhere. Or they make a maquette, and then maybe somebody else does the carving. Lots of artists do this. That they do something quite complicated, and then they'll work on the wax, which is really easy to do, or on the clay or the plaster. And then somebody else in Carrara, it's a Pietrasanta, some technician, will carve it for you. So I thought this was pretty rubbish. I thought, if there's a human in a piece of stone, the connection should be more personal. Really and truly, very profoundly I felt this. So I didn't want to buy and cut 6 sides. I wanted to see the stone, as was in my grandfather's garden, that it showed its history, it showed its story, that it was maybe 2.5 billion years old. And it had its own story. It was alive in a way that I was alive, but obviously very, very different. All the time I was saying to myself, this is so amazingly powerful for a human to work with a piece of stone. And I still call it a marriage made in heaven, because we're both created, but we both have to agree to work together. I can't make a stone do what it won't do. Sometimes you'll say, I'm going to go around here, and the piece will fall off, because there's a crack, there's a crevice there, because it's a wild piece of stone and it hasn't been all tested, and I haven't bought it from a stone yard where everything is cut 6 sides or it's in slabs. So I was very aware of the fact that I was very human, soft, made of water. We're here for such a short period of time compared to the stones. And the planet is 4.5 billion years old, and the solar system 7, and you're seeing all of this in the stone. As the geologists in the 1880s found with fossil record, they found that in fact everything was much, much, much older than they knew before. And that allowed Lyell, he was a geologist, he laid it all out. That allowed Darwin then to formulate his theories of evolution. This is reality now. We all agree with that the fossil record teaches us about the history of the Earth. I was sort of blown away by this relationship of me being so quick and here now and for such a short period of time, and these stones are these great, they're like mother objects. They're our history. They're what we were born out of. And I thought this is an incredibly powerful relationship, which is why I call it a marriage made in heaven. I can't make the stone do what it doesn't want to do. I can't make it into plastic or something. I can't make it slimy or shiny, or it is what it is. And I love it for that. I love it very deeply. I have huge respect for it. It teaches me about how to work with it. And I thought this is a very good example of how we might live on the earth. That we don't assume that we are all powerful and we've got good ideas and we're just going to make the earth do what we want it to do. This was, I was born in the 50s, so the 60s was my period of like what we were talking about and what we were thinking about. And it was a lot of equal rights for everybody and awareness of the problems with the environment. And now here we are, what is it, 40, 50 years later, and it's really important now. So I was thinking, what do I want to do with these stones? Why am I doing it? What is this when I'm carving it? What is it when it allows me to find these beautiful forms inside of it? Because often I don't finish all the sides. I leave a lot of the raw stone to tell its story about its history, about the origins of the planet. And what I do is I come in with this tiny little piece of human consciousness, and I touch it, and I touch the stone, and why am I touching it? What am I going to do with this? And so I thought the thing that I want to do most in the world is to make something that tells about my deep desire for the earth to be okay again, and for humans to be okay with the earth, and for the suffering that every human being experiences, it doesn't carry on out into the environment and hurt all the other creatures that inhabit the earth with us. So this I think was my sort of huge motivation for. I decided that what needs to be said by me with the help of the stone is, what is the look of compassion? What is the look of the peace that the stone has? And I'm all sort of fuzzed and fizzy with all ideas and emotions and hormones and God knows what. What is it that I want to show with this marriage between the stone and the human? And I want it to be compassion. I want it to be stillness. I want it to be sort of Buddha-like. I want it to look like an interior experience. I want it to look like somebody is feeling strongly, being alive inside of their own bodies with a connection to everybody else. And there's this thing about connecting peacefully with compassion. So the stone is very hard and can carry this. It can take everything I throw at it. All the different kinds of stones, we see here, all different kinds of stones. They all have this capacity to accommodate my ridiculous, being a human, and making such a mess of so many things that we all do in life, But this one driving thing is that we do also have the capacity for compassion. And the stillness that is in the stone is so generous. And so this is why I do the pieces that I do. The way that I actually do it is some of the pieces are vast and some of the pieces are tiny. And a crane will lift the great big ones into my studio, and I can pick up some of these little ones, and carry them around. And once they're there, I will use angle grinders with big saws on to sort of cut off bits. And then I will go smaller and smaller with little grinding discs. And I will use big chisels and as big as I can handle, a lump hammer, and you knock bits off. The stone will tell you where to move, where to go, the next move that you've got to make. It's constantly changing. There's no absolute aim. I don't know what it's going to look like. You're constantly dancing around and saying, what am I seeing? What am I looking at? What's she showing me? What's he showing me? What's it want to be? And I have to be alert and aware and ready to move with it. And then this piece arrives, and you think, okay, we're nearly there. And then I have to start polishing it and doing the little details. So, they've all got noses, little nostrils. You've got to get it right, You don't want. I don't want them to be sort of closed, and I want this thing that like somebody's breathing. The stone. These people have got their nice little nostrils. Their nostrils are open. They're alert. They're aware, or they look like somebody who might be aware. So this is a very nice piece. It's called avoria, which is ivory in Italian, and it comes from near Siena. The same as giallo di Siena, which we've got here. It's actually the same stone, but that one has had different minerals. It's this huge bedding plane that was under the sea, and it comes out in various different colours. It's got you get this, which is yellow, and it's it's a semi-sacred stone because it's gold. And apparently every Catholic church on earth has to have a little piece of this. And they literally do have just a little tiny slip of this stuff in Japan, in South America, all over the place, just because this stone looks like the glory of God. But, well, that's pretty nice, isn't it? So here the glory of God is being manifest in this nice piece of stone. And all of the stones have got their stories. The alchemy that has created them to be so different, but it's all our planet, Thank
you so much. From all of us, I think that was really very special. Do you have time for a few questions?
Yes, of course I do. Yes,
Can we open the floor up for a few questions?
Do you ever send slivers of your discarded JNO to churches that you think highly in Italy, for example?
I think the Italian Catholic Church can look after itself very, very well.
You said I first came across you when you were only doing heads, at least that's what you were exhibiting. What's lay behind that evolutions of the different types of sculptures? You are still doing heads, but you've also got lunar shapes and
Okay, I talked a bit about the heads and what's on the heads. So we also have the discs and the torsos, and basically that's it. So the discs are because I was going to stone yards, and what I was seeing were these beautiful slabs of onyx, cut 6 sides, and all information about where they'd come from and what, whether they were crystalline or whether it was a marble, just very smooth. All these things, calcite, silicas, you couldn't tell really. Anyway, I was so bored by looking at these beautiful slabs, and I thought, I know what's inside of you, which is discs. And so I took these, starting quite small, I took them home, and they were broken, little slabs of broken material. They said, oh, you can have them, it's nothing. But in fact, they were absolutely beautiful, beautiful onyxes. It's so simplistic that it's ridiculous. If you cut into almost any stone and make a disc out of it, it immediately looks like a planet. And there it is. There's so much that is completely beautiful in a disc, and so often that it's actually translucent. Particularly if I choose the one that is translucent. And so that is where the discs come from. And we've made really big ones and we've made really tiny ones. And I have to say it, I think they're all really happy to be discs rather than something in a bank or in someone's kitchen, you know. And then the torsos, well, I have a sense of my own body, and it's a woman's body. And I know that this bit here, there's a huge sort of chi power, you know, as they talk about in all these physical disciplines. There's this central core thing of being alive. And I think it's that. And all different kinds of stone lend themselves to being this shape. I mean, and if you go back in time, the female form it was the little drawings on the cave walls, and it was the little figurines that, you know, just you have in your hand that go with into people's graves with them, and it just seemed to be the original sculpted form does seem to have been quite often this feminine form, and obviously it is hugely a symbol of creativity, you know, nature's creativity. Particularly, you know, human. This is our great creation, is that we make babies. You know, how wonderful. And yeah.
I think there's a question all the way at the back over there.
You let John.
It's always so interesting to hear you talk about kind of time and travelling dimension of your practice work. I was wondering, do you, as well as going backwards, pulling the past and the present, do you sometimes hold fantasies of the work being discovered in the longer future? Dug up, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the future is odd. I mean, I do say about what I'm doing is that it's the personal is getting involved with time. Time is huge. You know, hundreds of billions, possibly trillions of years. So, and the personal is you know, 100 years maximum. So, yes, these will stay. And I used to have a sort of play in my. It was like I was playing. I was making a Borgesian fictional archaeology for someone to find in the future. Are they Buddhas? Are they ancient Greek? Are they a bit Irish? Are they, you know, who knows? It's so I like that idea that they wouldn't be able to place them. They being people in the future. But at the same time, I'm very aware now that, in fact, our time on Earth is limited, that the sun is about to turn into a red star. And what the red stars do is dying. It is dying now. And the red star goes out and out and out and out and out, and it consumes everything in its vicinity. The whole of the solar system, all the planets, including us, will be overtaken with this radiation. Now, with the next billion years, this radiation will make all life on Earth extinct because it's hot. This expansion is a heat expansion. We won't be able to be here. But we will undoubtedly, with wonderful technology, we will have travelled elsewhere. But I don't know if people are going to take the sculptures, which is, you know, but a billion years is a long time, you know. I mean, the Earth is, 4 billion years, 4.5. So, and we came 3.5 billion years ago. So we have already had, our ancestors' life. So we're already quite a long way in. So, but it is getting more and more extreme, you know. So, all of this stuff is also in there that, like, we don't know. The future is unknowable.
I think we have time for one more question.
Do you feel the stone, that the image is in the stone, it's calling out to you and you're responding and releasing it? Or would you say actually it's you calling out and the stone that you work with when it's successful responds to you?
No, I think I'm the needy one around here, without a doubt. I love the stone for being so cooperative and reliable and strong. It sounds like the perfect boyfriend, but it's sort of, it's not going anywhere unless I put it somewhere. So there is something of relying on it. Like, I trust the stone, and the stone has never, as far as I'm concerned, it has never let me down. It's sometimes been itself, and it has been very resistant to me doing what I thought I wanted to do, and it's saying and then I have to change my approach. So, okay, you're right, I'm not. So there's a lot of that goes on, but that's intellectual, gamesmanship in a way. Yeah.
I would just like to say thank you. It's been a wonderful talk, and thank you for bringing the stone to life.
Yes.
Yeah, got to the essence of it.
And also just any old piece of pebble that is lying by the side of the road, it's got so much history in it. It's got a real story. Yeah. Every piece of stone on Earth tells the story of the planet, our mother. Yeah.
That's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you very much, Emily.